All right, week 13, Thanksgiving Thursday. We got the Chiefs against the Cowboys. Before I get started, I'm looking for subscribers, trying to get to 250 for the end of this year. So let's go ahead and get into it. So KC is favored by 3 points. I'm going to take KC just because it's so hard to take against the Chiefs. And one of my big struggles when I watch Dallas play is their discipline. Now, they're a much better team than what I think their record has certainly showed. I think that they should be a lot better than uh, uh, just generally speaking the way that they've performed this year. Right now, with their 5-5-1, I really don't know why that they're only 5-5-1. They've certainly got the players. When I look at their defense, I definitely think that's disappointing. That's for sure. To be in the bottom third of the league on both of those is definitely not where they should be on that. The other thing is when I look at this and I see Kansas City, they're middling everything, but the fact of the matter is they have the best quarterback, in my opinion, in all the NFL. Ratings might have Josh Allen as being better, but I think Patrick Mahomes just has that way of making things happen that no other quarterback can, even if his numbers aren't uh, necessarily stacking up. I don't think that's because of him. I personally think that that's just a reflection of the status of the players that they have. Travis Kelsey isn't what he used to be. They don't really have a deep threat like they used to be. He just doesn't have as many tools. And yet with that, they still managed to find ways to win. Even like with this last week with a fairly ugly 23-20. Now this last week also, Dallas came back somehow to win, and Philadelphia, I don't know how they're going to let that one go. If you're a Phillies fan, I'm sure you're hurting over that one. But realistically speaking, and by the way, I think Dallas, they were disciplining what CeeDee Lamb and one of their players, his name just left me. But hey, good for them. They're finally starting to realize that they have a discipline problem. And perhaps if they discipline some of their problems, maybe they can get some of those players to perform better. We'll see if that works 2 weeks in a row. I want to see it. Let's go ahead and take a look more at the deeper numbers as to what this looks like. The big thing we're going to see here is, which by the way I find interesting, is a slightly better running game for Kansas City, the better passing game for Dallas. Some of that better passing game is because it's out of desperation, which quite frankly is the reason why they won this last week. They came from 21 points down because they aired it out. They had to. I don't think that they're really that good of a passing team, and it just that isn't quite the way that works out. And sometimes that bears out in all these other numbers. So a couple of let's come to the top right. So both of these teams are protecting their quarterbacks. I would certainly hope that they should. If you got quarterbacks, particularly like Dak and Patrick Mahomes, you got to protect them. Both of the teams, the model is showing a lot of uh, uh, explosiveness when we see this, but just with a margin, just a higher consistent margin for Kansas City, that makes a big difference when it comes down to this. Okay, and there's other stats that come into this that I don't show in the model right now. But what it really boils down to is being able to consistently move that ball down the field, hold the ball. That's something that Dallas has not shown a real good propensity to do. Again, I think that comes down to a discipline, not a talent thing. And let's come down and look at the talent. So let's look at available player strength. I put this over here for the top. This is what the if their top players are available, this is what it would look like. Both of these teams look somewhat healthy. There's always going to be some players that are beat up. So when you look at the quarterback plus the receivers, they're pretty even. Dallas should be better than what they are. And those are the players that they've been having problems with discipline with. And then you come over here to the run game. Kansas City has a slight advantage. This is pretty close. Really, Kansas City, they've got a good defense. A lot of people don't realize that their defense is better than what we typically think of for a Kansas City defense. That's because they play a very strong and aggressive style that confuses the opposing offense. And then just quite frankly, you just have a weak Dallas defense. I think on a big day like Thursday, these teams like to play on Thanksgiving. This is where you're going to see the very best Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelsey, and everyone else on that team because they're a disciplined team. That's what makes them so good. That's what makes Dallas so bad. They're not disciplined. They're very emotional. and that tends to not do well for them. So they're coming off of a big win, probably thinking that their shit just doesn't stink, that they're really good, and they're just going to go back to what they're doing. Quite frankly, I think that's really bad for the NFL. I hope Dallas can get it together. They need to see their top players play well and not be divas. But right now, they're divas until I see them putting together multiple games to where they're catching the ball and they're not throwing temper tantrums. I'm taking Kansas City. They're the more professional, better team all the way around. So, anyhow, that's what I'm looking for. And have a good day. Thank you.